Hi, I'm Allison from Move Smart Movement and the Move Smart Method, and today we're going to talk about getting up and down from the floor when you have osteoporosis. So why is this an issue when we have osteoporosis? Because we're trying to limit forward flexion of our spines, and especially if you tend to have hip or knee issues, getting up and down from the floor, if you have limited mobility in those joints, can often mean a lot of bending, and we're going to try and avoid that. So there are a few different things that you can keep in mind. As you can see, I have a little selection of tools here. One of the things that we do is we bring the ground up to meet you to better match your range. So if sitting all the way down onto the floor isn't comfortable for you, that's okay. Then we are going to bring the floor to you, use a support, and have something that you can sit on, whether that's a stool or I've got a yoga bolster here or a stack of cushions, something that's going to be solid enough to keep you a little bit higher off the ground. When we sit, we do want to be able to sit in a position where our spines are nice and long and our pelvises are stacked and untucked, right? As opposed to being forced into this position, and being a little higher off the ground can be really helpful for that as well. So that's one of the options. We're going to talk coming down and then we're going to talk coming up. The other thing that you can do, and again, this is if you have a little bit more mobility, we're going to go for if you're even more limited later, is to have, especially if you're doing this in a fitness situation, is to have something in your hands that you can use to support you as you come down. So you can come down, get a little bit of anchoring through your arms, and then come down onto the floor. If you are limited in the ways that you need more support, right? Like it's not great for you to put your knees down on the floor if you have arthritis, for instance, then a chair is really helpful. So you set up a chair. You want it to be a really good solid chair. You face the chair. You hinge at your hips and your knees so you maintain a nice long spine, hands on the chair, and then come down. So hopefully you can put just enough pressure on that knee for a moment. Bring the other one down. Bring your hands to the floor. Pivot yourself to the side. And then come into whatever sitting position you're going to choose, getting yourself a little bit off the ground, if that makes sense. To come back up, you just reverse the process. So you come into, get yourself near your chair. One hand on the floor, one hand on the chair. Bring yourself so that you have one knee on the ground. Bring the other knee up. Tuck your toes. And use the chair to help you so that you can really maintain that nice long spine as you're coming up and down. When you're coming up, there are lots of different options that you can use, even if you're not using a chair. And a lunge is a really good one. So again, this is supposing that you have a pretty good amount of flexion available to you in your knees. So you're starting from your seated position. You can step forward, tuck your toes underneath you. You're welcome to use your hands, right, on your knee to give you a little extra support and to come back up. Remember that we always want movement variety. So leading with different legs as you come up and down builds you more strength and more mobility in your legs and in your hips. So that's a good thing to try. You could start from this position. Again, if your knees are happy, come forward, tuck your toes underneath you, push up and stand. You can go from a squatting position. So if you're here, you can get yourself both feet underneath you and press up. There are lots of different ways to be creative about coming down to the floor. I think for most of us, the squatting or the lunging version is going to be the most effective. And again, if you're coming down onto something that's giving you a little bit of extra height, then you bring your knee down. Bonus, it's softer on your knee. Other knee down. Pivot and sit. Pivot, knee onto the softer surface. Other knee forward and stand. So basically what you're doing is you're breaking up the movement of getting down onto the floor into as many elements as you need to make it work for your body, right? And if your hips are not super happy to get all the way down onto the floor, just don't worry about getting all the way down onto the floor. Make coming in and out of your chair a really mindful, intentional, working exercise. And gradually, you might find that you build more strength, more capacity in your hips and your knees, and you can gradually come down closer to the floor. If you don't need anything to get up and down from the floor, I would say getting up and down from the floor in lots of different ways is a fabulous way of giving yourself a little workout. I don't know if you can hear, my voice is starting to get a little out of breath. Oh, and quick side note, that whole getting up from the ground cross-legged, I don't love that for us. Not from the floor. For most people, it's going to require quite a lot of forward bending at the spine. And so we're going to try and limit that. It's an excellent way of getting up and down from the floor, but it's not worth risking your spine for. If you have questions or comments, pop them down below. And we're also going to talk about all kinds of different ways to sit, both on the floor and on the chair, in the next video. See you next time.